I knew he couldn't stay where he was, and so that was the first time that I actually searched dementia care in the US and was horrified. But we got here, and within 48 hours, my father kind of like conspiratorially leans in and he was like, how are we paying for all this?
In 2025, overall tourist arrivals to Thailand declined by roughly 7% year over year, a figure that dominated headlines and fueled familiar narratives about slowdown and stagnation. But beneath that surface, a very different shift has been underway. Over the past 3 years, Thailand's wellness tourism sector has nearly doubled in size, and although it accounts for just over 10% of total visitor arrivals, it now contributes close to 30% of overall tourism revenues, while current projections suggest it's on track to double again by 2030. That growth reflects mounting pressure in aging Western societies, where healthcare systems are increasingly strained by rising costs, staffing shortages, and the growing burden of long-term care. I'm Cal, and I'm here at VivoCare in Chiang Mai to meet a friend and long-term subscriber. I'll sit down with Sean to discuss his journey following his father's dementia diagnosis, the decision-making process that led his family to seek care in Thailand, and how the country's tourism model is evolving to meet a deeply human and increasingly global need. He began by outlining how his father's diagnosis reshaped his life, a disruption shared by millions of families, as over 7 million people suffer from dementia in the United States alone.
Let me just give you a little bit of background. Rewind to COVID. My daughter was just about to be born. My dad's living in rural Oregon, and we're in San Francisco. He has a heart attack, has a massive heart attack. From that, he ends up getting vascular dementia. It was a mystery to us, and we didn't know what to do. His main issue is that he just didn't have short-term memory. And things seemed to be okay, and we still had this sort of naive hope that things would get better, like his memory would improve. And when we went and visited that Christmas, we realized, like, this is not going to get better, and this is not sustainable. And so he was eating like expired food and like getting sick, and like he would never report any of this because he didn't have any short-term memory. And so when I talked to him on the phone, which I did frequently, everything was great. Everything's fine. And so that was the first time that I actually searched dementia care in the US and was horrified. For the baseline facility, we're talking like $5,000 a month, and that's for like very little care needs. But then the staffing ratios also are like 1 to 10. And then when we actually went and visited them, the smell and the urine, it was just depressing, and I couldn't bring myself to even like think about that. And the nice facilities, go up $10,000, $20,000. My wife, actually, her grandfather, he was in a dementia facility towards the end of his life, and for the last year or two, I think he was paying $23,000 per month. It was just absolutely insane. Now, luckily, they had the financial means, and so it wasn't catastrophic for them, but we don't have the financial means. And so it was the most stressful time of my life. Didn't know what to do. I knew he couldn't stay where he was, but I also couldn't stomach sending him to a facility, and I couldn't take care of him. I wasn't in a position. My wife's job, was international. We were traveling. My sister didn't want to take care of it. My brother was incapable of actually taking care of it, and so I was just stuck between a rock and a hard place. And then, because my wife and I had done international work, we had lived in Thailand for a number of years, and so I thought, well, I wonder if they have facilities there. I wonder, I know the quality of care is excellent. I know the healthcare system. I know the culture is excellent. I wonder if they have facilities. Lo and behold, they did. And we ended up looking at several different facilities. Just for anybody who's listening, virtually any facility that I viewed in Thailand is 100% better than every facility I viewed in America at any cost. Like, not even comparing costs, just straight up like quality, number of staff, training, etc. So we ended up choosing the best option for us with a base that was above anything that I could have found. And so we moved him here. And within 48 hours, my father kind of like conspiratorially leans in and he was like, how are we paying for all this? Like, He thought I had won the lottery. He thought he was here on a tropical vacation, and he was like, do I have to go home? I don't want to shovel snow. I don't ever want to shovel snow again. I don't want to go home. And so at that point, we were like, sigh of relief. We knew it had clicked for him. We knew it was a good choice. Like, up until that point, I was like, for all I know, he was going to freak out, and we're going to have to get on a plane and go back to, wintry Oregon. So that was a huge relief, and it's been amazing. Like, he's happier, he's joking, they send us videos of him like dancing, and and these aren't like one-off events. Like, this is his normal state.
In your view, what are the biggest differences between institutional care here in Thailand and in Western countries?
So, the major differences that I have noticed personally, the number of staff available, the staff ratios. That's number one. If I could put a point on a single thing, there is a baseline of 1-to-1 staff here. They only advertise in most places like 1-to-1, but in reality, they also have more because they have support staff. If I could give a number two, I would say that the culture of caregiving, especially for elderly, there's a lot of respect, especially in Southeast Asia, but especially in Thailand. And so what I have found is that it's a high status job for the people that take it on. And so it's something that they go home and they tell their families about. I mean, they tell them about their work, about the challenges, and they tell their friends about it. It's a high status career. It is highly respected, and it draws in a lot of talent. It draws in top performers. People think, and they're like, oh, do I want to go into computer science, or do I want to be a doctor, or do I want to go into healthcare? It's one of those top tier kind of careers that people choose. So to compare this to the US, where you end up with chronically low staff ratios, a facility owner in the US in California told me this in confidence, and he said, look, if they have a pulse, if they can breathe, we have to hire them, just because we have such a crisis. And so that's the kind of care difference that you're getting between a place like Thailand and a place like, wealthy LA and San Francisco, and like these places where they should have, they can pay those prices, but they just can't get the staff, and they can't get the quality of staff. So that's number two. Certainly a strong number contender for number two is the cost. Like, if I had to guess, I'd say it's about a fifth of the cost. First of all, you couldn't get the quality of care in the US. I couldn't find it anyway, in the US that you can get here. But even if you could, like, the prices would be like 5 times higher. We pay about $3,300 per month. And that's all inclusive, and that's locked in for life. Like, that's when you till his last.
Right, if
it's a huge difference
life, when you look at inflation costs.
Because that's exactly right. Because that's one of the main models in the U.S. is you get in at what seems like a reasonable price, maybe $5,000, but then by the time they're at the end of life, often just within the last 6 months, you'll end up spending $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. Like, because you'll get medical bills, huge medical bills, trips to the emergency room, all these sorts of things. And it's a huge financial difference. Yeah. It's my lived experience. So it's like, and I talk to people who have come here, I talk to people online, who have had horrible experiences or just tragic experiences, or I read about them like on Reddit, and just heartbreaking. Like, there's this one story where this farm had been in this family for 150 years, and they had to sell the farm because of all the medical bills associated with them going to a facility, and like just the turnover. Like, it was heartbreaking.
After speaking with Sean, it became clear that Thailand's expansion into wellness tourism is not being driven by price alone. Cost plays a role. But what truly sets Thailand apart is quality and its ability to convert deeply rooted cultural values into practical competitive advantages. Over the past 2 decades, that foundation has helped position Thailand as a global medical tourism hub, combining internationally accredited hospitals, competitive pricing, and a deep, highly trained pool of healthcare professionals. At VivoCare, inquiries doubled over the past year alone, and a second facility recently opened in the coastal city of Hua Hin to meet rising demand. So while a 7% decline in overall arrivals dominated the headlines in 2025, that statistic tells only part of the story. Because at the very same time, Thailand has been been quietly repositioning itself inside one of the fastest growing segments in global tourism. One built not on volume, but on value. And it matters, not simply because it reshapes the economic narrative around the country, but because it speaks directly to a mounting global reality. Aging populations, strained healthcare systems, and families searching for sustainable, dignified, long-term care solutions.